Hello everyone, I am Penner Natalia Alexandrovna, Senior Lecturer of Foreign Languages and Literature Division of Sakhtargan University. Today the topic of our lecture is Methodological System of Foreign Language Education, that is, goals, approaches, content and principles. We're going to speak about the aims of foreign language teaching, practical, educational, cultural. We're going to speak about content of foreign language teaching, psychological, linguistic, methodological, and of course we're going to speak about principles of foreign language teaching. The principle of accessibility, durability, individualization, conscious approach, activity or activeness, and visuality. Let's start. So aims. What are aims? Aims are the first most important consideration of any teaching. The teacher should know exactly what his pupils are expected to achieve in learning his subject, what changes he or she can bring in his or her pupils' progress at the end of the course, at the end of the term, at the end of the week, at the end of the day, or each particular lesson. The aims of foreign language teaching: practical, educational, and cultural. Let's speak about each of them. So, practical aim. Pupils acquire habits and skills in using a foreign language. Educational, they develop their mental abilities and intelligence in the process of learning the foreign language. And cultural. Pupils extend their knowledge of the world in which they live. So some teachers say, okay, it's clear that practical and educational aims, so we need to think about them when we organize, when we plan the lesson, organize and conduct the lesson. But what for culture? So we cannot, if we think about the definition of a nation, it will sound like this. A nation that is a group of people living in one territory and having one culture, history, culture, and language. So when we speak about cultural aims of teaching foreign language, we cannot separate it from practical and educational, as we need to know about the history, traditions, culture of the people, language of whom we are studying. Content. Components of foreign language teaching. That is the answer to the question, what to teach. Psychological component, linguistic component, and methodological component. So, content is habits and skills what pupils should acquire while learning a foreign language. Habits are a series of connected acts which have to become automatic or semi-automatic as the result of repetitions. And skills, you see quite different notions. Content is habits and skills. And to understand what content is, you need to understand what habits and skills are. Skills are a combination of specific useful habits serving a definite purpose and requiring the application of definite knowledge. The second component of content, what to teach, is a linguistic one. It includes, on the one hand, language material such as sentence patterns, utterance patterns, pattern dialogues, text different in style arranged on topic, and serving as starting point for the development of oral and written language, which allows the teacher to reach the practical, educational, cultural aims set by the syllabus. The third component of what to teach is a methodological one. Pupils should be taught how to learn the foreign language, how to work at the subject to attain the aims. And we know that the main aim of learning any foreign language, that is to use it as a means of communication. What is the principle of foreign language teaching? So, a new definition. Principle is defined as a guide to action, in our case, as a guide to teaching. The principle, the first one, the principle of accessibility. The principle of durability. The principle of individualization. The principle of conscious approach. The principle of activity or activeness. And the principle of visuality. Let's speak about the first one, the principle of accessibility. It is realized through conformity with the following requirements. The subject matter of the instruction must correspond to the age and mental, that is, close relations with psychology. Powers on the learners be either too difficult, not too easy, or too childish for them. Everything must be rightly closed. be neither overabundant nor scarce. This refers to the whole course as provided for a program to teach lesson and each home assignment. In terms of time relations, this means that the rate of progress of the instruction must be neither too rapid nor too slow. All must be properly graded. Each stage should be prepared by and follow logically from the preceding stages without gaps or missing links in the previous instructions. The principle following the principle of accessibility is of great importance for the teacher. You cannot jump from one stage to another. There mustn't be any gaps. You must follow, everything must be logically connected. And everything must be so presented in such a way that the pupils have to grapple only with one difficulty at a time. That is the basic principle of any teaching of any subject. The principle of durability stands somewhat apart from the other didactic principles, as it determines the nature of not of the teaching but the nature of the assimilation of the instructions. That is the principle which shows us, which makes us think how the students will assimilate the material we're going to teach. A very important principle, the principle of individualization. All the students are quite different. All the teachers are quite different, and here in foreign language teaching it is of great importance since this subject is an essential one in the curriculum in our schools. Therefore, each student, each pupil should develop habits and skills, the syllable set. Each time we need to think about individual student, not a group in general. The principle of conscious approach, it is closely connected with psychological aspect. Consciousness is a principle of didactics, or in one of the two main senses in this word, is knowledge and understanding by the learner pupils of what he or she is doing. That is, we're speaking about mental process. The principle of activity, activeness, it's of the highest importance because if the student is not involved in the process of learning, so you will waste your time. Activeness is largely dependent upon interest. It motivates, if the student is involved in the process of learning, he or she is motivated, and it usually gives good results. And of course, the principle of visuality. You know, if we speak about learning styles of the students, we see that most of the students are visual learners. And for this, we need to prepare lots of visual aids for the students to have a kind of support in learning the language. Here on this slide you see again the literature which may be useful for you for preparing for exams or some other lessons or studies. And I'm sure that the material that we discussed, the questions we discussed today, will be very useful for you in your future pedagogical practice and studies.